Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rising Stories podcast. I'm Corrine Sandifer, and each week I have a conversation with successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and authors. We talk about what it takes to start a business, what it takes to run a business, and also maybe even if it's an author, how they wrote their book. I ask those questions that we all want the answers to before launching our own businesses or writing our own books. But before we start, I want to give a big shout out to those of you who have left comments on iTunes, like this one from Eli Schellenberg. She says, I'm absolutely loving this new podcast. I feel like I'm sitting across the table with Corrine enjoying some great company. Definitely recommended. Thanks, Eli. I really appreciate you leaving me a comment. I would love for you guys to do the same because it really does help get this podcast out and it helps people find the show. So go and leave a comment. This week, we are celebrating International Coaching Week. As some of you may know, I am a certified business and life coach, and I thought it would be a great idea to have a fellow coach on the show with me. The International Coaching Week is a week to educate the public on the benefits of partnering with a personal and/or professional coach. Dez Stephens is a coach, and she's the owner and founder of Radiant Health Institute. It's a coaching school for the International Coaching Federation. You are going to want to listen to this. It's a great conversation. But I do have to apologize that her audio we had some audio difficulties because Dez was in the mountains of Georgia, and we just have intermittent service up there. So I do apologize for the technical problems, but you really, really are going to want to listen to this because Dez actually sneaks in a little bit of coaching with me. Here's my conversation with Dez. Hi, Dez.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Now, you're not at home. You're like in North Carolina or South Carolina
I am
today?
in Georgia. I am in
Georgia.
Stone Mountain, Georgia. Beautiful here.
Oh, I've been to Stone Mountain. Yeah, I like Stone Mountain.
Yeah.
But
we're going to Go ahead.
Don't they have like a big, it's not an amusement park, but kind of.
There's a huge Confederate carving on the side of a mountain.
Yes.
But I think there's concerts here and some other things, but I'm going to go check it out tonight.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on my podcast and my show.
You're welcome.
This is so fun. So, you and I know each other because we are fellow coaches. We are kind of colleagues, but now here recently, I have come on your staff as a coach, as a trainer, and tell me about your institute, about your coaching training.
Well, I started the Radiant Health Institute about 4 years ago because I was getting a lot of requests as a coach. I've been a professional coach 11 years now. People were saying to me, I want to be a coach. I want to become certified. And I would send them away to San Diego where I got trained or some other great program internationally. But then I thought, wait a minute, there's nothing in the Mid-South. So I started something at Vanderbilt and just thinking it would be a good idea to, train and certify life coaches at that time. And I got an accreditation and it just took off. So here we are 4 years later, already needing co-trainers like you and training internationally now.
Yeah. And so for people who don't know about coaching, we kind of have this a governing body called the International Coaching Federation. And your school is accredited through ICF.
Yes,
is that right?
I think that's a very important distinction. If someone is hiring a coach or becoming a coach, you want to get those accredited hours. Mm-hmm. There are so many coach training schools out there now because it's so popular, and people just, put a sign up and they say, oh, I'll train you as a coach. But unless you're getting accredited ICF hours, you really aren't getting what you need if regulation comes around, which it likely will soon. And
Yes.
It's just very important to have those code of ethics, core competencies. So that's why when I started my institute, that's the first thing I sought was to get my accreditation.
Yeah. And so since I've been on board, I have just been so impressed by you. You just have it together, but at the same time, and I just love to be around you because you have it together, but at the same time you have this like calmness and peace about you, and just like nothing rattles you. It's like, what's your secret? I just want to know. I really and truly want to
Well,
know.
it's interesting. I have never played the role of the typical like stressed out American. I just have always rebelled against that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I was a dance major in college, which of course was like, oh, what are you going to do with a dance degree? I was in corporate America, and I just looked around like, this is just a bunch of stuff people made up. Like, this doesn't make any sense. All the stressed out people around me were, frankly, dying from stress. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, man, like, I'm not going to sign up for this. There's no way that I'm going to sign up for that, mortgage and that high stress job and that lifestyle that so many of us have signed up for. In fact, when I was in Honduras in February, the Hondurans there said, we worry about you Americans. You're so stressed out. What are you so stressed out
Yes.
about?
Oh, yeah. Like people
And they're
look at us
right.
like you're crazy and you're not taking enough vacation. I'm sure they're saying that. I know the Europeans take
Oh
a whole
yeah.
lot more than we do. And it's
And
like,
they don't
how they,
take lunch. Yeah.
yeah, they take a long lunch. Yeah. And
Yeah. I mean,
so
they love life.
they do. They do. And I sometimes I feel like, well, how they say they work to live and we live to work. That's so
Right.
true because, here lately, I mean, I'm launching this podcast and working and doing all this other stuff and coaching. And it's just like I'm just kind of, it has taken over my life.
Yeah.
And I really, really have to be conscious about that. What do you do to kind of like, how do you go about your day because you're running this like,
Yeah.
institute as well as
Mhm.
you're coaching on the side with your own clients, and you're a mom of
Yeah.
a lot of kids.
All my coaches, right? Um, well, every time I feel overwhelmed, I sit back, whether it's that day or maybe, later that day or the next day, and I think, how can I not lean toward the overwhelm?
Mm,
To me, overwhelm is about quantity. It's
mm-hmm,
like, the kids and the job and the house and all that. And I'm always very conscientious about what am I doing to sign up for this stress? What am I signing up for? What am I saying yes to too much? So it's definitely about priorities. I think, how can I build my business without feeling like I'm trying to chase the dollar? I think that's where a lot of us get
mm-hmm,
into trouble.
mm-hmm.
We always kind of have this agenda like, well, if I go to this lunch, it'll help me connect with this person, it'll help me make money. And, we always have an agenda. So I try to let the agenda go and I try
Mm-hmm.
to just serve. When I step into like, I'm just being of service, that's when everything becomes more calm and more zen.
Yeah, I have seen that about you. That's definitely true. You're where a lot of coaches that are out there will start a company or will start a coaching practice or a coaching institute like you have. They seem to do it all online, which,
Mm-hmm.
you and I have talked about this. We kind of have this love-hate relationship with online courses and online things, and we like people. And
Right.
that's kind of why I think that's why you got into the business, and that's why I'm in the business. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, we want that connection, that human connection. So you're kind of like, that's so out of the ordinary. And when I'm there at your institute and talk to your coaches that sign up for the class, they're always like, no, we wanted to do it live. We wanted to
Mm-hmm.
connect. You want that connection, and you don't always get it with Skype or FaceTime,
Right.
or conference calls. But I mean, we do what we can when we coach, but when you're learning something and you're training, that's always better, I think. So,
Absolutely. In fact, that's how our international trainings kind of came about, is that we had requests from other countries to do it online. They said, we can't come to Nashville, we can't come to the US, we train in different US cities, but they said, well, what if, you did it online, webinar, teleclass? And I was like, oh, no, but we'll come to you. And they were like, even better. So our 8-day in-person trainings are now, and it's a wonderful way for the class itself, which can be, 20 people or so, to bond with each other. Because not only are you learning the coach process, you are having accountability partners as peers, you connect, you practice on each other, all that fun stuff. So it's a great experience, and I loved learning myself in person to become a coach. That's why I offer it in person. And that's rare. Most coach training schools are mostly online.
Yeah, yes. I will have to say you're breaking up a little bit, but I think it's because we talked about this. You don't have the best connection where you are,
Right.
but bear with us. So yeah, so tell me more about your international. Your first country was Honduras. Is that right?
Yes, it was. I visited there I went on a spiritual retreat a couple years ago. A friend of mine was facilitating something down there at this beautiful place called Hacienda San Lucas, in a part of Honduras that is the beautiful old ruins, and it's an area called Copan. So I go down there and I see impoverished peoples, and I see women who have no job opportunities whatsoever. In fact, Hondurans on average live on $1 a day. So I was like, wow, I wasn't thinking at the time, but that was in my hmm. It's like this, but then when you go, you see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when this friend of mine who was facilitating the retreat, she's the global ambassador to Honduras, she says to me, maybe you could come down and train Honduran women to become coaches so that they can coach tourists and they can coach online. And I was like, yeah, we need to do that. And we started last November, and we trained 50 women, and we went back in February to continue their training. We started a new group then. The cool thing about the new group is that now we're doing it co-ed, because the men said, well, we want to do it too. So we have been down there. We're going back in July, and we will probably go back to Honduras 3 to 4 times a year. But because of that initial trip, it's kind of caught, wind on the AP press, and the media exposure was so strong that now we're going to Panama, Guatemala. It's really caught on, especially in Central America, which is new to coaching, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Central America culturally came a little late to coaching, so now they're kind of on fire about it.
And so you're giving them opportunities with, that they don't have because they're very limited on what they can
Yes.
do
Yeah.
or what they're doing.
I
So,
mean, can you imagine how life-changing it is to have, let's say you're a woman, you live in Honduras, and a lot of these women call themselves entrepreneurs. They want to aspire to work for themselves, right? But, and they might even run schools, run nonprofits, but they do it as a volunteer because they're not a salaried position. So with this opportunity, they now, just to give you a little bit of context, an attorney makes about $40 US an hour there. And when these new coaches coach online, let's say you're coaching a European or an American, you're Skyping with them, or you're maybe doing a tourist that's visiting there, you can charge on average about 120 US dollars for that. And it's just mind blowing to
wow.
them
Yeah,
that
I
they
bet.
can, in fact, it's hard for them to charge that. And I said, they are happy to pay it. This is what the going rate is. So can you imagine that mind stretch that they can charge 3 times more than the attorney that they know can charge? So it's a big gestalt shift for them.
Yeah.
And when we go to Panama, less so, because the economy is different there. Less, maybe even more less so in Europe where we're going. But, it doesn't matter where we go. What matters is, and I, of course, have a particular passion for training women, because women globally do not have the same opportunities. And so when I see these women light up and they say, like, you mean I can make my own money? This socioeconomically makes
Right.
a big difference for them. Maybe someone's in a marriage that they don't want to be in because of money. And maybe that's a big deterrent for them leaving a relationship. So this can be life-changing even, on a personal level.
Wow. Oh man. So you travel to these countries and tell me what you've enjoyed. What's been fun?
Ooh, I love
Honduras.
to see first training. Everyone is like arms crossed, looking at really weird. They're very suspicious. They're very why are you doing this for us? Why would you do this? Why would you come here? They have a lot of fear, and they're very wary of being exploited. I'll just say that. So day one, they're all closed. They're all kind of like, I don't know what this is, and they don't know what coaching really is. They think they know what coaching is based on what they've heard. In Honduras, for example, there's like one famous life coach there, and she's always on TV. And so they maybe think that's what a coach is, right? So let's say day 3 of training, they're like, oh, this is what, they just start lighting up. By the end, I take a photo of them, by the way, on day 1, because for the International Coach Federation, I have to have their photo with their name and their email and all that good stuff. So on day 1, the photo is kind of a frown face, kind of a flat line, mouth. And then on the last day of training, when we take our individual and group photos, oh my gosh, they look like completely different people. They're just lighter, they're happy, it's like that information is empowering kind of look on their face.
Yeah. Well, and
they're
hope.
just, oh my gosh, it's so great to then come back a couple months later, because there's a high to that, and they might think, oh, she's leaving and I'll never see her again, and now what do I do? But I come back every 3 months. So with my alums, I just spend 3 days with them, no matter why I'm there. I'm always going to spend 3 full days with the alum. And I don't charge for that. And they asked me, so when I graduate and you give me my diploma, is that when you're going to ask me for money? They're very to being not really given things for free. I'll just put it that way. So they always expect me to surprise them with, okay, here's what I'm really doing, instead of coming from a generous place.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like they kind of get all this hope. I mean, that there's a future for them, that they can get out of a job that they don't like.
Right. They are very quickly going into corporations. When they trained in last November, they got, the theory of it. They got this kind of idea in their head, like, this is what coaches do. By the time I returned in February, out of the 50 women I coached, I would say at least 20 of them have been actively going, into corporations and offering corporate coaching, and they're on it. They are doing. A lot of them are pastors in churches, so they incorporate coaching in their congregation work, and some of them run NGOs, nonprofits, and some of them are teachers, and some of them are, just kind of community helpers. And they have just immediately taken to it, and they're coaching.
Wow. That's it's mind-boggling that you're taking this across the globe, really, because you said you're in Honduras, but you're also going to be in Europe. Is that your next trip? When is your next trip?
My next trip, my European trip this year is in the fall. Croatia, Istria, probably Madrid, and some other ones along the way. But I love the idea that we're going to Istria, which I had never heard of this place. But it's this beautiful peninsula on the Italian, Slovenian, and Croatian border.
Oh, wow.
Where it looks like a little island, and there are castles there.
Oh, nice.
We will be training in a castle, which will be awesome.
No way you're going to be training in inside the castle.
Yeah, in a castle.
My gosh.
Because a lot of those castles,
what is that trip? I'm going to write that down. That date down. I think I need to go.
Depending on where we go, like Reykjavik will be probably in some cool lodge, some ski lodge or something. But yeah, it's really fun. The hosts we have internationally, they pick the best training spots for us. They pick the best place for our coach trainers to stay. It's nice to have ambassadors around the globe now. It's really nice.
Yeah. And you're going to Puerto Rico.
Yes, Jamaica.
Oh, I need to find these dates out, because I would love to.
Where I want to go is Cuba too.
Oh, yes. But I think right now they're only letting people in groups, like certain and for certain things.
Yes, I want to wait about 6 months to kind of see those glitches kind of work themselves out. But that's definitely somewhere we need to go.
So tell me what else you are doing besides running this Radiant Health Institute and doing your own coaching.
Well, I have a 7-year-old and he's in first grade, and I just love the flexibility my schedule offers me. A lot of people think I'm just running, but really my day consists when I'm in town, which, is less these days. But, I bring my son to school. I go take a yoga class. I go to a business meeting. I might have lunch with someone like you, which is business and pleasure, right?
Yes.
I might have another call or something, and then I go get my son, and then I play with him, and then Daddy comes home, and then I work. I work upstairs on my laptop. That's kind of how I market myself. My background is in marketing, so I just put my marketing expertise on my own business now, like I used to do for my clients and still do for some. And then, I just plan my trips, and I on my social media, like you are with your business. And I really just, if I had to kind of add up my hours, I'd probably spend, 6 to 8 hours a day working, but it does not feel like work. It really doesn't.
Because you love it. Yeah, because you're doing something that you love. What is new in the coaching world? Anything that I need to know that is? I'm not really. I don't have my pulse on it very much.
I would say, I'm doing some research, a lot of research on neuroscience now, because neuropsychology is really helping coaching. It's kind of giving us a framework to separate what counseling and coaching is. Counseling has this very, as you know, talk therapy model. And although coaches, we talk with our clients, we learn about neuroscience. I'll give you an example.
Hey, Des, one second. You're breaking up a little bit.
Am I really breaking up?
If you put it down somewhere.
Oh, instead of moving around?
Yeah.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say here's some new information, and I believe this comes from Judith Glazer, who I love. She is a neuroscientist and pretty cutting edge about neuropsychology. But she says, research is showing, for example, that when we remember something, let's say pick a memory from 10 or 12 or 15 years old, and really get that image in your mind. Let's say you're riding your bicycle at the park or something, and you can remember that the bicycle is red, and you can remember the wind in your face, you can remember your friends you were with, something like that. So the new research says that memory is actually just the last time you remembered that memory. You're not actually remembering the experience itself. And what this shows is kind of how the mind works. We're stacking memory. We are allowing let's say, our brain to have enough space for new experience. Because if we could actually go back to the experience, and although we are remembering all the different senses, the smells, the visual, the audio, and all that, it feels like we're right back there. But because we're not, and our brain says, wait, let's just go back to the last time we remember this. And in a multisensory, perception, it allows the rest of our, let's say, psyche to be a clean slate, to have new experiences. So although that's just one little tidbit, it kind of helps us as coaches when they, a client might say, I just miss that feeling of riding my bike with my friends when I was a kid. I want that sense of freedom again. Not that as coaches we're going to talk about the neuroscience, although I bring it up a lot.
You do.
But it's interesting for us to know these things and to know why we go back to these memories, sometimes. And, coaches, we don't talk about the past. We don't focus and dwell on the past. We get our clients out of the past. But they're always going to go there. They're always going to say, the last time someone broke up with me, or my last job, or my childhood. And if we can understand as coach, this is why I think it's very important when you're a coach or considering becoming a coach to go to a very progressive school. You want to learn the new research, the new science. And coaching, depending on who you ask, it's about 30 to 40 years old. And you certainly don't want to learn it the way it was taught 30 years ago, right?
Right.
So I just love learning new things and incorporating it into all my trainings. After 4 years, and we've trained nearly 200 coaches, the training is very different now than it was even 4 years ago because of all the new research.
Yeah, You're a better person than I am. I don't remember my neuroscience coaching classes, but I kind of tune those out. I don't, they're so over my head, but
Mm,
it's true because even though we as coaches deal with from where they are now to the future to moving forward, there's always that backstory. There's
mm.
always that, well, if you don't have self-esteem and that's not helping you get forward, then, what was it that is holding you back? What is it that's holding you back? And where did you hear that, audio tape going in your head?
Exactly. Yeah, there's, the context is so important, but what neuroscientists, and this is why I like Judith Glaser, by the way, and the new book I'm reading right now, which I love of hers, called Conversational Intelligence. What I like about Judith and her work is that she explains neuroscience to laypersons really well, and that's what I need to do, even though I'm kind of a science nerd. But it's really great to understand, that our clients have a history, right?
Hmm.
But what neuroscience is saying is it doesn't matter what our history is. And kind of, I think what a relief in a way that is.
True.
Counselors for many years have used a technique called reframing. If you want to change your past, you can change it, change the story in your head. Well, that can be effective to a certain point. And I think the intention is really good around that. But I think we can take it a step further now as coaches and to really just, it's almost like if you have a different perception of why we go to the past so often, we can understand that there's something that needs to be healed back there. Otherwise, it would not be on our radar. Think about think about a romantic relationship in your head for a second. Somebody in the past, not your current person, but someone in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And, ask yourself, why did that person pop in? There's always the one that pops in, right?
Right.
And what neuroscience says is that is something, I mean, I guess you could call it closure. That's language that counselors use.
Mm-hmm.
But really, why that person pops in is that there's a need for healing around that person. Because if there wasn't a need for healing, that person wouldn't even pop in. Because think also about someone in your past romantically who you don't even think about anymore. Someone that you dearly loved at one time, and you just literally do not think of them. I mean, you might find an old photo and remember, but in general, that person's not on your radar.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that person's not there is because the lesson has been learned. The healing has occurred. So there's no purpose in it anymore. So whatever's coming up for our clients, there's a purpose in it because there's healing that needs to come around it.
Mm. Well, I think every boyfriend I've had in the past, I need closure for. There was never that closure. It was always, I like you. Oh, I don't like you. Okay.
But if you notice a pattern, that's the pattern.
That was the pattern.
That's
Until
the
I
great
met
thing
my
about
husband. And then he
that's
was
the
like,
great
I
thing
like
about
you
coaching.
too.
We're objective and we can see the pattern. They say, well, my bosses are always mean to me, or my boyfriends always break up with me. Well, that's a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't even notice that it's a pattern, even though they're saying always.
Right, right. So when you said, are you seeing people, that come up? I'm like, all of them. So I need closure for all of them. But,
This
that's
is
the past. I've
this is one
released
of my
that.
favorite client exercises, Karine. I would do this with you if you were my client. And if you mentioned something like that, I would say, picture all of your exes in the same room right now together. And you can see them, you can hear them, but they don't see you. Okay. You're like invisible. And ask, imagine them talking about you. And what do you think they would most likely say about you? What is that thing that would come up? Would it be, she was so loving, she was so insecure, something's going to come up like a common denominator. They're all going to say the same thing about you. What is that thing? It's kind of interesting.
Well, now that I have the loving husband that I have, and he is so great and is always affirming and has built up, I guess, that self-esteem that I didn't have when I was dating these guys. So now what they would say, I think, is, shoot, how did we let her get away?
There you go.
I totally go there
Nice.
because, I was a good girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have very many. I didn't date, I can, in one hand. So,
Yeah.
but I think that they would say, oh, she was nice. She was a good catch, but how did we let her get away?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and
but,
that's really good insight, that a client might have, So many of us, we get caught up. Okay, so as a relationship coach, because that's a lot of the coaching I do now,
mhm.
what I've noticed the most lately is that okay, now this was like a huge light bulb moment for me. So I always share with my clients. We are always looking, as humans, we have a natural tendency to want to learn, to want to grow, to want to evolve, and in my opinion, transmute. We're always like searching for that better. And I don't mean like in that corporate America climbing a ladder kind of way. I mean, we just have a natural tendency to want to, learn things and to heal and it's just a natural inclination. So we're in a relationship. Let's say I believe that we as humans choose certain experiences. Let's say we want to fall in love. Let's say we want to feel what it's like to have our heart broken. Maybe we want to feel, period. Maybe we want to grow with someone. Whatever that thing is, internally we have some kind of desire to have an experience. So we meet someone and we say, oh, this is the person that I want to fall in love with, okay?
Mhm.
And when it doesn't work out with that person, we think we're devastated, right? We think, why me? Why didn't it work out? And what we forget is that we're choosing the experience, but we get attached to the person that we need to have the experience with.
Yes.
So if we can lose our attachment to who it is, we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we know, okay, if it's not this person, it will be someone else. And I don't mean that, when you break up with someone or someone breaks up with you, that you should immediately start being in a new relationship, because then you're just kind of putting another in place. What I mean is the attachment part is where we get in trouble. I just read this amazing article that I love. It was in a magazine that I like a lot called Experience Life. And it was about basically the 3 cycles of DNA entanglement. Here's some more science, nerdy stuff. So, we meet someone, and this is romantically.
Mm-hmm.
We meet someone and oxytocin kicks in, and we for about a year, we're crazy about this person.
Mm-hmm.
And biologically, what a year would do is give us time to create a baby. So that's biology at work, right? That's physiology. So when I meet a person and they're newly in love, I say, give it a year.
Mm-hmm.
And see how you feel, because the oxytocin is kicking in and kind of almost giving you a false sense of what it is. So what is it really, Not to say that every relationship has to be long term, but the second cycle of hormones, which I think are 3 different hormones, not oxytocin, the love hormone, that's about a 10-year cycle. And that one enables us to bond and to, let's say grow a family. And then there's a rare one, which is like decades long. But, biologically, we haven't been living this long for very long, right? So the reason I love this article is at the end of the article, it says that the reason the divorce rate is so high is that we used to get from 22 different people what we are now expecting from one person.
Oh,
We used to
wow.
have a tribe, right? We used to have
Right.
a confidant and an advisor and
When families stayed together, like
oh yeah,
you
oh
had your
yeah.
girlfriends that, and you had your mom there and you had your grandma,
Yeah.
who everybody
Yeah.
provided something differently for you.
Absolutely. And now our partner is like our soulmate, our lover, our best friend, the parent of our child, our provider, our everything,
Mm-hmm.
And it's what the article is saying is it's too much of an expectation and it falls short. And not to say that monogamy doesn't work. It doesn't work for a lot of people, but that's one of the reasons why monogamy might not be working. There's a new term I just heard, and I can't wait to research it. It's called environmental psychology.
Hmm.
So that's about, the people in our lives and the surroundings and how that's affecting our biology. So I just love this kind of work because it's, we can coach people and we can counsel people if you're a counselor, but if we understand at a deeper level what's going on, it's so much easier for us to coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true. Yeah. There, and we come up, I mean, we've got different people from all walks of life that are being coached by us. And who would be a prime candidate for, like, who comes to your coaching institute? Who are you
Well, what
seeing more
I've
and more?
seen, the common denominator is people that want to help others.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Yeah.
this really caring heart. They're very compassionate. Maybe someone that got into nursing or counseling or volunteer work or humanitarian work or nonprofit work. And they just have, I'm like this since I was a little girl. I always just wanted to help people, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how it would form into a job or a form of income. So I've noticed I've noticed mostly primarily women are drawn to this career, although I do have some fabulous men. People that want to grow themselves and support others.
Yeah, yeah. You've got a good group. I've been watching, and when I train with you guys, there's some really great people. And you're right. There's that common denominator is they just want to help people, and I love how every coach has their niche, has their place in the world. One of the girls that we trained a few weeks ago, Stacy, and how she works with the elderly. I was like, coaching
Mm,
the elderly. I mean, of course, they
yeah.
need coaching too. I just,
Well, and this is interesting with Stacy is that was her hobby. She would just
yeah,
go into assisted living places,
like she's
go
doing
in
that for
there,
free.
exactly. She's already doing it, and now she's like, "Wow, I can now coach them." It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. And that's another thing about coaching is we come with some kind of expertise. Maybe we've been a nurse, maybe we've been a yoga teacher, maybe we've been a marketing person, right? That's
Hmm.
how I became a marketing coach. I thought, wow, I can combine what I already know with the coaching model. And then we
Hmm.
become grief coaches, marketing coaches, divorce coaches, teen coaches. It's amazing to see all the specialties.
Yeah. So you and I, although you're in Georgia right now, we live in the same city, Nashville. And anytime someone comes on my podcast that's from Nashville, I have to ask them this one question. What is your favorite restaurant, or where was the last place you ate?
Oh, I'm such a foodie.
Me
Okay,
too.
the last place I ate in Nashville it's a Vietnamese place off of Charlotte, and I know there's a big debate about which Vietnamese place is better, but the one I really like is it's spelled Kien, and the second word is Giang. And the reason I like them is that, okay, so Vietnamese food, I'm just now learning this, is, French influenced and because it was colonized, but it has
Oh,
like, my favorite dish there is this beef stew with this like French baguette and these carrots and this cilantro that is out of this world. And of
that
course, the
sounds bizarre. It
oh, well, think of
baguette, French
yeah,
baguette.
yeah, like a French buttered French bread that you
Wow.
dunk in your delicious beef stew.
Hmm.
And I think my hubby got like he got banh mi, which are these great little sandwiches. And yeah, Vietnamese is like my new passion.
Is it that tiny, the banh mi? Is it the tiny
The
little,
tiny little
like they look
sandwiches.
like sliders, but the
Yeah,
bread is
yeah,
different.
yes, it's French bread.
It's French bread?
Yes, because the French colonized Vietnam, and that's how they had the French cuisine influence. So
That's
it's like,
bizarre.
imagine that. Imagine like barbecue pork
Mm-hmm.
with cilantro and julienne, veggies and pickled, marinated, amazing, almost kind of kimchi kind of tasting stuff
Yes.
on a French baguette. It's
Wow.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, because
really
last
good.
time you and I met for lunch, we had Asian, and it
Korean,
was
Korean.
Korean. Yes,
Yes,
the
yum.
bibimbap. Oh,
Yes,
that's like my
yum
new
yum.
favorite. Is that how I said? Did I say that right?
Yes, you
Bibimbap.
did.
Oh, I love it, love it. So is that your favorite? That Vietnamese?
Yeah, my current favorite, but it
Yeah,
changes because I'm
I know
always
mine
on the
too.
search for something yummy, which is so fun when you travel. Like right
Yeah.
tonight, I'm going to this great. It's called the Sweet Potato Cafe.
Oh, of
I can't wait
course.
to go.
Yum. That sounds really good. I'm having
Always
a
up
sweet
for
potato for
trying
lunch,
it.
so
Yeah, there you go.
sweet potato cafe. You'll have to tell me what post on your
I will. You know I will.
Facebook what you ate because I would love to see
Mm.
and I'll put that on my list. So I always ask my guests like, what are some like three things that are just rocking your world and you just absolutely love?
Wow. Middle age is rocking my world right now. I had trouble turning 50 last year, and I didn't think it would happen to me. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I don't feel old. And then as 50 creeped up, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be 50. And I'll be 51 next month, and I'm really enjoying it now. I'm loving kind of this. Like, what is the second half of my life going to be like? I feel more in control. When I was younger, I felt like other people had control, right? That I didn't have maybe the freedoms, the opportunities, and now I just feel so free. I feel so excited. So middle age, I love coaching middle agers, by the way, because
Mm-hmm.
we're all on this tipping point, right? We're all like,
Right.
hey, what am I going to live the life I want to live or not, right? Another thing kind of rocking my world is, I used to be the kind of person that I would think about what I really wanted to do. And then I got stuck in this, like, I was a single parent for 10 years and I felt very kind of trapped economically. And now I'm kind of like, if I want to do something, I'm just going to do it. Like,
Yes.
I'm not going to envision. I'm not going to think. I'm not going to plan. I'm just going to do it. And I'm not, I'm just
Wow.
I'm in doing mode, not designing mode, which is kind
Yeah.
of fun. So yeah, I'm kind of a little more existential lately with what's rocking my world. But yeah, that's a couple of things. And
So
Vietnamese
just
food.
doing and Vietnamese food. That's awesome. Yeah. I there's a couple of restaurants. There's one that's in the Gulch that that kind of has that ramen noodle thing
Yes,
happening.
I went there the other day. It's
What's it good?
amazing. A taku ramen. There's a great, I'm sorry, OTAQU ramen. It's amazing. I had this, it was a special, but I had this shrimp ramen, soupy, oh
Mm.
my
I keep
goodness. And
trying to
they
get
had
my
this
family to go there. I mean, they sit down and eat ramen noodles all the time.
so good. The noodles are so tender. And I've heard there's another place in East
210,
Nashville that's really good.
210 Jack. Is that
Yeah, well,
right?
that's good too, but there's another, it literally has ramen in the title.
Oh,
It's something ramen, where they have like the ramen sandwiches where you make like you make the bun out of ramen noodles. Yeah.
what?
Yeah. What?
What?
Yeah, I definitely recommend a taco ramen in Nashville, and they have these buns like duck confit and some other kind of bun appetizers. Those are also amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I'm
that
definitely,
sounds
we need to
delicious.
go there. You and I need to go
Yeah,
there.
we should just plan it. Yeah, when we get off the call, we'll plan. We need to plan that because I my family won't go with me. There's certain restaurants that they won't go to, and
Another fun thing about that restaurant is they have a live feed of Tokyo, like downtown Tokyo in the bathrooms.
in the back, a live feed of Tokyo.
Yeah, like it's like looking at Times Square, but it's Tokyo.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting and really good music.
Oh
So,
wow.
that's important too.
That reminds me when they opened up. Oh gosh, there was an Italian restaurant that opened up here in Nashville years ago. And now, I mean, it's a chain now, but I can't remember which one it was. But so I won't say. But in the bathrooms, you could hear Italian,
Mm.
like speaking
Carrabba's used to do that.
Carrabba's. They were
Yes.
like teaching you Italian
Yeah,
words,
exactly.
which I loved. Hey, I might as well learn a couple of words while I'm sitting here. Oh gosh. Anyway, well, thanks so much for coming on. This was
You are so
very
welcome.
fun, and just send me the bill for that coaching session. Make sure you prorate it because I don't know. Um, yeah, that was great. Very, 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 very interesting. I loved all that neuroscience that you're talking about. And you said Judith Glaser?
You spell it Glaser. It's almost like Glasser, but only one S.
Okay.
And please, if anyone's listening to this, please send her some good energy. She told me I could share this information. I've been doing a little coaching with her, but she is, let's say, she is challenged right now with cancer.
Oh.
And she's getting a lot of chemo, and she's doing really well. It's prostate cancer, and she would love it if anyone sent her some positive energy right now.
Okay. I will do that. We'll do that. Thank you so much, Dez. And
you're so welcome.
See you around. Wasn't she a delight? Loved talking with her. If you're interested in becoming a coach, all the information for that will be on my website, CorrineSandifer.com. You can find out more about Dez and her school at Radiant Health Institute, and she is giving our listeners a 20% discount on tuition. So you can put in the promo code RisingStories20, and that will get you 20% off her tuition for becoming a coach and coach training. So thanks so much for listening, and I really appreciate you taking me with you and downloading these episodes and listening while you're driving to and from work, or you're folding laundry, or running errands, or just doing nothing, or working at your desk. Thanks for taking this time and listening, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.